This is Peter Whorf from WRCJ FM, your host of Midday Music. And I'm speaking today with Wayne Brown, President and CEO of Michigan Opera Theater. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Peter. Delighted to be with you on this day that we pay homage to our founder, David DiChiera, who would have turned 85 today, and we miss him dearly.
Yeah, I was certainly, thank you for anticipating my first question, which was to ask you to reflect on the legacy of David DiChiera, your friend and mentor, and really one of the founding fathers of Michigan Opera Theater.
He was that and more, and certainly the city of Detroit and the opera field benefited greatly from his leadership, his passion, his commitment for many years. In fact, he was I would say he was the Pied Piper for opera in America, and we are all the better as a community and the art form as a result of his leadership. He was also a terrific friend, and it was David DiChiera who was the significant force in asking if I would return to Detroit after a long-term absence to play a role in terms of addressing transition for the company.
Right, you came here as having recently been Director of Music and Opera at the National Endowment for the Arts. What was that transition like coming back home?
Briefly is described as 17 years, and it was really quite significant. This is where my career began with the Detroit Symphony some years ago, and I was involved with in executive posts with orchestras throughout the country. And so the notion of returning to a community where it all began was very personal. It was very, the opportunity to respond to David DiChiera's invitation was so affirming. And so it was coming back to the city that I cared deeply about and making sure we could do all that would leverage David's investment and his leadership in opera for our community. And it was and continues to be a tall order, and yet I'm still so privileged to be able to work with so many wonderful colleagues, the board level staff, community, our partners such as those with WRCJ. All of that has been very meaningful and very productive. We've had a little distraction over the last month or two, but we'll get through this.
In one of those welcoming conversations that you had with David DiChiera as he was passing off the baton to you, you spoke of Detroit representing a can-do spirit. How's that coming into play now?
Oh, I think it's so evident even today as we navigate the challenge that is underway on the world stage. The fact that there is such a committed leadership at both the state, at the city level, not just within the lens of government, but also within the lens of our community leaders and our citizens, all who choose to devote time, energy to try to imagine how we will move forward, and not so much whether, but when, and on what scale, and what various platforms we need to entertain in going forward. It underscores the can-do spirit of Detroit. And so I think the notion of the spirit of Detroit, as was embraced as a community point of reference, is so evident today as it has ever been.
One of those platforms maybe that you're referring to is the new Michigan Opera Theater at home. Can you tell viewers and listeners about that?
Certainly, it's an initiative, it's a digital campaign, and it's designed to provide content and maintain engagement with our community through social distancing measures. Clearly, we are focused on, at least a number of my colleagues in town, those involved in the arts and culture, to not only think about that time when the government leaders or our leaders in terms of the medical community will declare that it's safe. The goal is to provide morale-building content to support our community through this very challenging time, and to keep Michigan Opera Theater within our minds and our awareness and top of mind, in the absence of live performances. So we have created a subset on our website, michiganoperatheater.org/MOT at home, and also through Michigan Opera Theater's social media on Facebook and Instagram.